Before we wrap it up, we want to shine a light on some more outlandish products or something that might not be as flashy as a new TV or a new PlayStation or a new PlayStation car, but still could shape the quality of life in 2026 and could tell you what you might actually be interested in the coming years. So, David, I want to talk with you about the Death Stranding like exoskeletons that we saw at the show. So CES always has a ton of robotics, and we've seen these exoskeleton frames here and there, but this is the first time that I went to the show and actually got hands on with it, or well, in my case, legs on with it. And such is the case with you as well, because you actually went out for a hike in Vegas using one of these exoskeletons. So I want to kick it over to you and tell us about the various ones that you saw and your experience when you went hiking with it.
Yeah, so I went along with my colleague James Bricknell, who's been wearing the Hypershell X Ultra. That is their highest end model. Exoskeleton legs. These things sit about your waist and then clamp down above your knees. You actually wore them around the show floor. I took it hiking in the Red Rock Canyon. That is about a 20-minute drive from the Strip. Beautiful red rocks, as title might imply. Sort of scrub vegetation. And as an experienced hiker myself, any help in the desert, right? Well, and it was a help. You power this thing up max and to max strength, and the motors on the side will actually lift your legs for you. So I was going on this hike, getting a little extra help and picking my feet up so I wasn't sort of dragging my heels when I was going, and it actually saved me some effort. Obviously, this is only one of many. Exoskeleton design. Some of them have some different approaches. Some of them were futzing with the knees, futzing with the ankles. This one was really just picking my feet up when they started to drag, and I looked pretty badass doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because as I was trying it myself at Unveiled on the first night we were there, I was a little skeptical about how it worked, but once I strapped it on and once I saw how the app worked and how it affected or how you can change the settings of the exoskeleton itself, then it started to make sense where it has like these pistons that essentially, and having it strapped behind your leg, it is essentially like having something lift your leg up as you lift it. And it knows when you're lifting your leg, so the pistons know when to expand or contract. And I really noticed this most when I took it off because it has that feeling of like, it's like this ghost feeling is like lifting up your leg. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know, for folks out there, real quick, if you ever like stood in a door frame and pressed your arms against the door frame, then stepped out and you felt your arms move up naturally, that's kind of what it felt like to take off the exoskeleton, but with my legs. And it could also be a training tool where they have like this underwater setting where it actually pushes down on your legs when you try to walk. And so that could be a way to like simulate underwater walking for training purposes maybe, but it is also, you can easily see this as an accessibility tool as well. And the dream of being a porter in the Death Stranding universe is a little bit more real, and I could kind of see like if you have hundreds of pounds of things to deliver on your back, I could see how this could be a legitimate help. And I think you've had the most experience out of most people I know, David, of actually using this in the real world, and that's really wild to see. But yeah, what were some other things that stood out to you on the show outside of what we already discussed?
Yeah, well, I was wandering around Central Hall looking at a lot of the gamer stuff, and I found Shift All, which is a Japanese company that makes a lot of VR equipment, and one of them was the Mutalk. That is Mutalk. This is a wearable gadget you put over your mouth and nose, and then what it does is muffle what you say. Now, it kind of makes me look like a cyberpunk platypus, but we actually found it worked pretty well, and it connects wirelessly, or it's got a wired plug on the bottom to your phone or to like your gaming controllers. So ideally, you can just sort of sit around at home and like not bug your friends, your partner, your roommates, your baby, whatever. So it does have some practical application, but you could also, in theory, wear this in public to have more private conversations without people eavesdropping. You just look pretty weird. I loved this as a gamer tool, but that is for everyone. Everyone's mileage may vary. Speaking of gamers, there's a Lenovo had this AI posture checking concept that will just check using sort of like depth sensing cameras to see whether you're sitting up straight enough, and it'll like sort of be like, hey, maybe you should, you know, maybe you should correct your posture, and maybe you're yawning too much. I love getting nagged by my computer.
Jeez.
There was a Tombot finally released its or has its final version of its Jenny Dogbot. This is um, a dog-shaped robot for seniors that sits on your lap, doesn't move around, but it's meant to be a companion for a stimulating companion, especially for people with dementia who need and will benefit from the engagement that a dog-like bot will provide them. And I got to see it with a group of seniors, and they really went. They almost fought over this thing.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay.
And sorry, not to take up too much time. Lastly, I saw a little D&D helper. There's this little thing, the ArcaLink. ArcaLink is a new company that is making like a tiny little gamer or a game player assistant that you can upload a little image of your hero there, and they also have this DM like assistant that's going to ingest all of your sessions audio and then build you sort of like a bunch of stats of what happened, word cloud of your themes and recurring elements, just something to help with the thankless task of being a dungeon master in today's D&D games.
Sweet. Yeah, I think that all speaks to the variety of stuff that you're going to see at a CES show year in and year out. Which also, Tim, you saw so many other different things as well. I think one of the things that stood out to me was the Asus ROG X-Real R1 glasses, which is X-Real's been doing XR glasses for a while. They collab with Asus to have a sort of gaming grade version of those glasses, and we both tested them out. But I want to get your perspective on those real quick as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like Xreal brought out the big guns for CES. They definitely had the coolest demo I personally experienced, and that was thanks in large part to these glasses. So they worked with ROG. They're called the ROG Xreal R1 glasses. They're coming later this year, probably at an expensive price tag, but
Hmm.
they're the first smart glasses with a 240 hertz refresh rate. I got to play Elden Ring on this. It was very impressive. The gameplay was very, very smooth. Colors, everything about it was just very, very impressive. So for people who don't know, these AR augmented reality glasses project a giant virtual screen. So, you're sitting there wearing glasses, but you have a massive, massive display that looks incredible and has a phenomenal refresh rate, right?
Hmm.
So I was very impressed with this demo. I thought it was awesome. The other cool thing Xreal has is instant 2D to 3D conversion. So your Instagram feed, any movie you're watching, any game you're playing, instantly converted into 3 dimensions. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah, I really like the demo that I saw of it because I've been a little skeptical of like virtual theater spaces until I previewed the Steam Frame a couple months ago, and I looked at it and I was like, there's a huge screen in front of me. Of course, it's just projected in a virtual space, like you see at a VR headset, like we saw in the X-Real glasses. But the quality of that image has gotten so good that it would be a preferable way to play a lot of these games. And if you're in a much more tighter space, you could still get that home theater experience with something like this. But of course, again, these things aren't cheap. But something a little bit more tangible. You saw the Lego Smart Play system as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've been dying to talk about this one.
Yes.
Sometimes we get this information before we're allowed to release it. I've been dying to share this news. So, Lego calls the Smart Play system the biggest evolution to brick building technology in 50 years. I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but
Sure.
it is pretty cool. So it's got 3 parts. They're calling it the Holy Trinity. There's a smart Lego minifigure, a smart brick, which looks exactly like a regular Lego brick, and then a smart tag. So it's a whole new system. It responds as you play. So they're launching with 3 Star Wars sets. So there's an X-Wing, right? As you move the X-Wing through the air, it knows that and makes flying noises. Or if you're shooting, it makes, laser noises. It could light up. And it's really cool how many sensors they built into this teeny tiny little brick. I mean, they've got light sensors, sound sensors, accelerometers, tons more. Yeah, it was very, very cool. I'm just excited to play with it. You know what I mean? So, launching with 3 Star Wars sets in March, you can actually pre-order them on Amazon right now, which isn't the case with a lot of CES products. And at least one of the sets is under $100, which was a nice surprise, I would say.
Sweet. Hit us with a few more things before I turn it over to Matthew to close out our discussion.
Yeah, I already mentioned those custom tint sunglasses. I gotta call them out just because I had so much fun with them. I
Yeah.
can't wait till they arrive, at my doorstep for proper testing. I also love the Jackery Solar Mars bot, which is this sort of autonomous power station. It, literally is a robot that followed me around the showroom floor. That was very, very cool. There's also the Lollipop with a built-in bone conduction speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackery also had a solar gazebo, which I thought was very impressive. Jackery celebrating its 10-year anniversary. So they had some pretty cool stuff at this CES. This bot in particular, I thought that you're seeing on screen was a lot of fun.
Cool. Now, Matthew, you saw the HP's Elite Board keyboard computer. I didn't get to see this. I wish I did because this is such a cool idea to me. Can you tell me about? Did you get hands-on with it? And tell me all about it.
Yeah, so I actually saw this at a preview event in New York before CES. Shot a hands-on video with it. It's really cool. The Commodore 64 is back. I think it was a big trend of PC makers putting things inside of other things, and I don't know if this is probably is, especially for some of the smaller manufacturers, related to the discussion we're having about memory and the normal products they'd like to make, aren't available as readily, and they're kind of thinking outside the box a little bit. It really is just a 1.5-pound keyboard with a Ryzen chip inside. It's very, it should be not going to be a powerhouse, not going to game on it, but very capable of productivity. And there's a version with a cable and without, with a detachable cable and with a non-detachable cable. So those are sort of different use cases. Keep one at your kiosk at work, or take it with you, work at home, take it with you, work at the office with the same keyboard, the same computer. That's a really unique form factor, something we haven't seen before. In addition to that, Corsair also putting things inside a keyboard. They had they basically put a Stream Deck Plus inside their new Corsair Galleon keyboard. And they didn't bring really any PCs to the show, which I think is sort of evidence of what I was saying about, like, we're going to kind of put that to the side with the memory and component issues right now. We're going to focus on some more of this weird tech. Razer, the same thing. There were no new blades to look at the show, which is unusual. Mm-hmm. We were checking out, they had a room full of concepts. One of them was more so looking, some of them were very future looking. One that they were more set on bringing to market was the Project Motoko headset, which kind of mimics, similar to the X-Real, it kind of mimics the functionality of a lot of those AR glasses, but without obviously the UI over your face. But they have cameras built in, they'll talk to you, they want to tell you about your environment, they scan things, they give you heads up. These PC makers kind of thinking outside the box and put a computer in a keyboard, put an AI companion in a headset. I mean, they're just kind of throwing darts at a dartboard in lieu of a traditional PC upgrade cycle, I think is kind of the trend.